Hello, I'm Derek Terry, host of I'm Not Complaining, I'm Just Saying. Here at one of my favorite spots, the barbershop, where we know if you're gonna complain here, then you better provide solutions.
Good.
It's good. I firmly believe when we make other people's problems part of our conversations without providing solutions or prayer, then we become part of the problem. I want to be able to provide people with a platform where they can freely express their views on such topics as education, social issues, health and fitness. And that's good. Or sports. So please join me so we can complain and provide solutions together.
Hey, what's up, people? This is your man, Derek Terry, host of I'm Not Complaining, I'm Just Saying, where you're going to complain, bring some solutions to the table. Welcome to season 7, episode 18, I believe. Wow, I've done 18 episodes in this season. That is a lot of episodes. I'm hoping it's 18, but regardless, I thank everybody for being here. My special guest today, as part of my voter education series, is going to be Jason Henry, who's running for Charles County Board of Education, District 2. And before I bring him on, like I always do, my opinions are my opinions, not those of the guest or any of comments or anything. I don't have anything to do with that, but you will be respectful if you leave comments. Also, I've sent out email to all registered Charles County Board of Commissioner and Education candidates. Most of them have taken advantage of this free show. Free, I mean, it's not self-serving. Some people called it shameless, being one of the candidates for the commissioner. We'll talk about that when I go into my picks, and you can understand why I put more context to it. But at any rate, I do this as my way of giving back. If anyone has seen any of my shows, I'm fair. I will address some elephants in the room if there are any, but at the same time, I want to stick to the candidate's format so you, the voter, have an opportunity to hear from the candidate in a more lengthy conversation and more specifics, but also you get an opportunity to make your decision about who you want to vote for. So I'm going to bring in Jason Henry, who is running for, once again, Charles County Board of Education District 2. What's up, Jason?
Hey, how you doing?
Hey, I'm doing all right. I was about to put my bow tie on, but then I realized today was actually the first day of summer film camp at Howard University. So I didn't take my shirt off. So I just want to showcase this for everybody. This is going on right now. We got about, I want to say it's 6 Charles County students who received scholarships that, to attend the camp, along with a total of 20. But enough about me. I was all about Jason today. So Jason, once again, welcome. How's everything going?
Everything's going well.
Okay.
Everything's going well. Excited about the campaign.
Okay, so look, we're gonna jump right into it. But before we get into your campaign, tell us about Jason Henry, the person, not the candidate, but the person.
Well, I'm a father of 2, a grandfather of a grandson who's about 9 months. Very active in the community, politically and socially. Also, a basketball official, has been officiating basketball and coaching basketball for community service and AAU, both for roughly about 25 years.
Okay, well, that was brief. All right, well, I noticed one thing that I always hear you say, you're a lifelong Charles Countyan.
Yes, I am a lifelong resident of Charles County. My family history in Charles County dates back to probably slavery. I know my great-great-grandfather, he was one of the first Blacks in Charles County to own their own land after the Civil War. He was able to purchase land in Chickamauga, where I reside.
Okay. All right. So what I always tell all candidates, what I find fascinating is that we have some similarities. I have 2 kids, son and daughter. Don't have no grandkids yet, and hopefully not anytime soon. I actually ref basketball, and you actually got me back into it. I was refing for a time, and then I got deployed, and you got me back into it. I've coached. I know my history dates back to slavery. I just don't know where. Been trying to chronicle that. It's a tedious process, but that's something that hopefully I can get to, because it's always a very intimate and personal, fulfilling type of thing to have in your heart, to know where you've trace your family back as far as you can, because of the way in which we, our ancestors came here. So that's something that you're blessed to have, where a lot of people like myself are still searching.
Yeah, I was very fortunate because my late great uncle, William Diggs, he was a historian as well as a school teacher in Charles County. And so he did a lot of tracing of history and documenting history for people of color in Charles County. And so we have it's at the Heritage House. He co-founded the African American Heritage Society with Veronica Coates back in 1974. And so we have a lot of the information there.
Okay. So before we get into your platform, tell us a little bit why you're running for Board of Education, and a little bit about some of the specific issues, not really going into great detail because we'll talk about those issues in regards to District 2.
Okay, so one of the reasons why I'm running for school board is though I enjoy working with the youth. That's one of the reasons why I've coached and referee so long, because I enjoy working with our young people. So that's another way of being involved with the education of our young people running for school board. That's why I decided to run.
And for when we look at District 2, what do you, because of the new format and how we're elected, which I agree with, but I've always told other people, I don't know why it didn't apply to the commissioners and the delegates, but it's a whole different story. What are some of the specific major differences in District 2 as compared to like District 1, 3, or 4?
So District 1 and District 2, they have some similarities because of a lot of the areas in both districts are rural. So you have high-speed internet as one of the factors for both districts. Like the kids in Nanjamore area and Welcome and things like that, they don't have high-speed internet. It's not there. Broadband is not there yet. So same way with in District 1 with Newburgh and those areas. So there's similarities there. Also, the distance students have to travel to school because it's rural, it's a little bit more spread out. So those are two similarities in District 1 and 2 for Board of Education. Now, District 3 and 4, the differences are it's more condensed, as high population. You have more schools are being constructed in those areas more because of the growth that's happening that side of the county. St. Charles, as well as Billingsley Road. Those two schools are some of our newer schools. And so I believe the next school is slated to be a middle school. And if my memory is correct, it's going to be between Benjamin Stoddard and Milton Summers and La Plata, between St. Charles and La Plata, where the next school, the middle school, would be.
All right, so as we look at your platform, I'm just going to kind of just go down the line, and focus on learning, not testing. I know what it means, but what is it that you would like to see different or see changed?
So with that, the way the education system is set up, teachers teach kids so they can pass the test. So, they teach them in the manner for they can memorize the material that they're going through so they can take the test at the end of the quarter, whatever the curriculum is for that quarter. So, when I was in school, we were taught where we remembered it, for a lifetime, basically. But the way the system has changed now for education, the kids have to, they have to move on to the next curriculum once that quarter is over with. So they kind of teach the kids to, remember the material so they can pass the test.
Yeah, basically teach the test. And I agree, because when we look at these standardized tests, especially, and I never agree with this, you come back after a Christmas break or whatever, and then 2 days later you're tested. Like the kids really studied over the break, but yet they give these standardized tests. So I know there's some things within the preview of the board that they can change. There's some things that you can recommend to the current superintendent to change, and there's some things that you can change because it's based on state. The standardized test, I know some of those we can't change, but I know internally our tests we can. Another thing, and you have improved our special education department, which I was a special educator for almost 18 years. I don't know how it is now, but I know a couple of years ago it was in disarray. I wouldn't say disarray. There was a lot of things that the special ed department should be doing in terms of advocating for the student and those parents. So what are some improvements you would like to see?
Well, I know our
Oop, hold on for a second. We got
has
for 1 second. We had a technical. It was we're gonna do a mic check. Say it again.
Okay, so I know that our new superintendent, she is has placed an emphasis on special education. So hearing her speak, that's one of the topics that she is currently focused on and improving. And from what I have heard from various community members who, are involved with special education, they have seen an improvement. We just need to be able to provide resources for our special educators to assist in their classrooms and, with their curriculum.
And honestly, I know that's going to be a challenge, because it'll kind of like lead us into your next point when you talk about STEM. There simply just isn't enough special educators out there to fill the classrooms. As long as I've been teaching, special ed has always been a hot commodity. I was a hot commodity. I also taught math, but I noticed that some of the systems expecting me to come in and be a yes, and that got to me. And the autonomy, which brings us to STEM. We know that you had mentioned about more emphasis or focus on the STEM curriculum. They're going to face the same challenges with teachers. So what is it about the curriculum that you would suggest be changed or improved upon?
Well, I mean, in order to attract the teachers, you need to provide incentives. And that's key. Same way with the special educators. You're going to have to provide the special educators with incentives, as well as the resources once you recruit them so they can be successful. There's nothing worse than a teacher coming in and they're looking to leave because they feel as though they're not being supported or they don't have the resources. That will, when you have to have a constant turnover in our education system, that brings the system down in some aspects, because you're constantly having to retrain and hire new staff and get them customized with the area. and the school system, before they leave. So that's important that, we have stability in our educators who are teaching, our special education curriculum as well as our STEM curriculum.
Well, have you gotten a sense from any, I guess, educators and or parents during your campaign of, and limit, keeping money out of the picture as far as pay, why it's difficult for Charles County to retain or recruit SPED teachers as well as teachers in the STEM area?
Well, from what I have heard from communications with various community leaders and parents and people in the community when I'm campaigning, they feel as though the resources are not there. And so that's one of the things that I keep hearing, frequently, is the resources for the special education as well as the STEM are not there to support the staff.
Did they say what specific resources besides money per se? But.
Yeah, they didn't say, they didn't go into detail. They just said the resources.
Okay. Another thing you talk about is promote and support the need to increase construction, address, basically with overcrowding. And for just me, I've never felt there's been an overcrowding issue per se in Charles County. That's just me. I think when they constructed these schools, they were poorly constructed, where
So
the capacity couldn't go, it only can go right here. Where to me, I don't understand why you can't build a little bit larger, knowing that someone had to know that over time we were going to get this populated, or I don't know, but that's just me.
So the way I understood how the state of Maryland education funding is set up is that the school has a construction budget and size. I forgot the number, but so by the time you start the planning and then the construction and the school opening, you're probably 2, maybe 3 years, from the start to finish. So you're already behind. So that's an issue. If you do a 30,000 square foot school, then you're already behind. If it's 3 years from when you start the planning, okay, we're going to put a school here in this area, and these are the neighborhoods it's going to service. And then by the time you open the doors for the students, the school is already crowded. And then the next year you have trailers behind the school to accommodate, because you're kind of, at least 2 to 3 years behind.
Yeah, to me, I think it's a constant battle, because there's schools and school systems where I've seen an increase in population at a certain school, but I see a decrease at another school. So then you have this rezoning because they need to be able to make them fit here, there. When I look at McDonough and Lackey, for instance, it's very difficult for them to get large in what they already are, unless you rezone or you build, there's residential housing in those particular areas. Because you're a graduate of Lackey, right?
Correct.
So when you talk about the construction, do you feel, in your opinion, that the school is able to sustain itself for the next 3-4 years?
You mean Lackey?
Yeah, as far as population, is it gonna? Do you feel a sense of it declining or increasing?
Yeah, they will be able to sustain themselves, because when the rezoning happened for St. Charles, it pulled from McDonough and Lackey when they did the rezoning, because before you had kids from that lived in actual St. Charles. I know Bannister, they went to McDonough. If you were in one half of Bannister, you went to McDonough. If you were in the other half, you went to Stone. So with the rezoning, after St. Charles opened, it pulled from McDonough High School and it pulled from Lackey High School because they were able to rezone. So those students went, elsewhere. So the numbers dropped at McDonough and Lackey. So they should be able to sustain themselves for the next few years while there's construction going on. I know there's construction going on in Bryan's Road, and those students would attend Lackey.
Well, that's the hope.
Right. Yes.
That's the hope. They could rezone and send them to McDonough.
Yes, that is true, depending on where they're located.
Yeah. All right. So the next one, every candidate is touched on this, and like I mentioned before in the beginning, as a board, you're somewhat limited in what you can and cannot do. But when you're setting policy or whatever, and you're looking to decrease the achievement gap for all students, what are some strategies you would like to see implemented or some things done to assist with decreasing the achievement gap? And I know specifically among minority students.
So one of the things I think you could have breakout groups of, say if it was a math, you would have a smaller group to assist the students who were having trouble with math. Same way with reading and science. So instead of, the teacher having a classroom of 20 or 30 kids, you would have a teacher, assistant teacher aide who would break it down into a smaller group for those students who needed a little bit more assistance.
Yeah, now, some candidates that had actually mentioned that, and the first thing I said, well, where are we going to get these people from if we got these shortages?
I mean, teachers' assistants, I'm not sure if they have to be fully certified as well as a teacher. So
no, they don't. They don't. But what happens, and no one's going to admit it as far as the school systems, sometimes those teachers' assistants are filling in for vacant classes. Well, I wouldn't say vacant classes that have no teachers. So it makes it a little bit difficult to fill them out. Yes, I think we should be working on decreasing the achievement gap, but I think from a personnel standpoint, I think it's going to be difficult. So there's going to have to be other ways that we can do it outside of hoping that we have a teacher assistant.
Well, I mean, another opportunity to work on decreasing the achievement gap would be investing in community-based organization that teach education. So, kids could go there a few hours in the evening, a few times a week to assist them with the reading and the mathematics and science, things like that. So you're not putting it all on the school system. It's a partnership with the education system as well as the community.
Yeah, and honestly, I think that's where we're going to be headed. Either that or contracting, because I just don't. Just me personally. I think with the year that the teachers have had, there's a lot that aren't coming back. There's some that are not simply interested in the field, and whomever gets elected, it's going to be challenging. It's going to be a challenge. We thought COVID was challenging. It's going to be real challenging trying to fill these positions, which brings me to your next one, because in order to do that, to some degree, we have to, and I agree with you, raise awareness amongst the parents, the community, local businesses, so they can assist with our students in school. So what are some of the ways that you would raise awareness in regards to parents, community, and local business partnerships?
With business, let's say if you had a community center and you wanted to utilize that community center to work on the achievement gap, you could use the business partnerships to help with funding and resources for, supplies or whatever, so that, you could assist the students in that community. If you had a school where the testing rates were lower than average, you could look at bringing in community partners to assist with helping the students who needed extra assistance. That's an opportunity, and letting the parents know that this community group is here, and this is where the kids can go for, evening or weekend assistance, that would be an opportunity to bring in the parents as well as the community and the businesses to, help with the achievement gap.
Yeah, so basically, we're looking at the village concept.
Yes, you're looking at it. I
Yeah.
mean, the resources for the school system, you have teachers, they have to have time for planning, classroom instruction and training for themselves. And this is opportunity to use the community to assist with, helping the students, progress in their education.
Yeah, and I agree. I hear a lot of people out there that complain about this, complain about that. And I say, okay, so what are you doing? What is it that you can do to help? Well, I'm not worried about it. I don't have no kids in school. And I said, well, part of the problem.
Yeah,
No.
that I hear that a lot. I hear that when I'm out there and I'm saying, yeah, I'm Jason Henry. I'm a candidate for District 2's Board of Education. And the first thing, quite often I hear, oh, I don't have any kids in the system. And then I always catch them with this. I said, well, did you know that even though you don't have any kids in the system, did you know half of your tax dollars go towards education? And they go, huh? Now, yeah, I said, the county paid, the county brought in last year over $400 million in revenue, and half of that goes to education. So whether or not you have a child in the system, I know you, if you're, a transplant, you have relatives, friends, somebody in the system, that your tax dollars are going to. You're paying, you moved here from California, you're paying, your taxes towards education.
Yeah, and I think what other people fail to realize, even if you don't have kids, you're in a neighborhood or somewhere where there are kids. To me, it is mind-boggling why you would not want those kids to be educated, obedient, civil, responsible. Because if they're not, it's going to affect not only your neighborhood, but your property values.
Yep.
The education system.
Yes.
So to me,
property values.
Yeah. And some people don't know that your property values are sometimes predicated. That's the right word. That might not be. We'll just say they're really, they run together. Meaning that if your school system is at the very bottom, why would I pay high price for a house and I can't put my kids in those schools?
Right. I mean, you're correct. When people look to move and buy houses and live in certain neighborhoods and they have children, they look at how well that school is doing in that district. And if the school is doing poorly, they may think twice. But if the school is excellent, they would want to live in that community. And so, if a community is a hot commodity as far as the education system, that will increase the housing value because, the house won't stay on the market that long.
Yeah, and I agree because I
people
found
gonna
out.
Jump right on it.
I don't know how accurate it is, but I found out my house is worth $200,000 more when I got it. Well, actually $240,000. I don't know where I'm gonna go if I sold it.
Right.
You have to find a house for $240,000 and really move, but it's because the overall school district.
Right. And to piggyback off what you said, as far as the education and the kids being civil and getting a decent education, I use the analogy of, okay, so if a child gets a decent education in the Charles County public school system, most likely they will stay in Charles County and get a job and add to the tax base because they will be paying taxes, and they could buy a house, again, more revenue coming back into the county. But if that child does not get a decent education and they go down the wrong path of getting in trouble, then they in our criminal system. And then again, we're paying for it again because we have to fund the sheriff department and the needs that he has with, the detention center and the court system, the whole nine. So if they get in trouble, most likely they won't get a job. or they have limits to what they can do depending on the type of trouble they get into. So it's a win-win for the kids to get a decent education and become productive Charles County citizens, and live here and add to the tax base, and be successful in life.
Yeah, you actually said something that my wife and I were talking about a couple of years ago, because we grew up in an area where there's a lot of pride in your school. And we may not necessarily live there, but we're always gonna have that pride in our school. And just my opinion, I've seen a lot of kids in this area graduate and they don't tout their school. It's almost like there's a lot of successful kids that graduate from Charles County Public Schools, but very rarely do I see them come back to the school or to the area to help uplift like they do in Prince George's County. They literally have a program for their alumni where they praise their alumni. I think it's every year they have this award show or something like that. So they can, it's not just enough to graduate, but they graduate and then they still continue to give back because they still reach out to them. I think that's where in my opinion, we have a disconnect here in Charles County with either some of the elected officials, organizations. You're not even trying, in my opinion, to reach out to these recent graduates to see how they can give back. Have you noticed that through the years? And you're lifelong, but there's a lot of people, and I don't know their names, but I've heard them. Well, I know he went to this school. I know he went to that school, because I very rarely hear them say anything about their school.
Yeah, well, for my personal experience, I graduated from Lackey in 1989. I returned in, I believe it was 1996, to coach JV girls basketball. So I went back to my school, and I was coaching basketball. So that's my story of giving back. I went back and I was coaching basketball. I know that Lackey, they had a little Hall of Fame wall because of the students who had graduated from Lackey and were successful. Bruce Davis was one of them at the time that I went there. He became a professional football player. And then I believe Rod Milstead, who was a couple of years before me, he graduated a couple of years before me. He's now as part of the Hall of Fame for Lackey because he became a professional football player as well. So those are the two that I know of from Lackey.
Yeah, and I think I've heard of some of them, but and we're going to move on. I just think that Charles County can do a better job, especially within the school system, of promoting their alumni. Yes. And no one, because sometimes people do have to move away and channel out, but find a way and a will to come back. I go back to Edgewood every chance that I get because that's where I went. I have much pride for my school, much pride for the community, but I lived in an area where it was community-based school. The middle school and the high school were right next to each other.
Oh yeah, the only place that we have that is at on the North Point campus, where you have North Point, Diggs, and Davis.
Hey. And that's a community-based quote unquote school to a degree, but it's also, well, that's a whole different story. So the next thing you talked about, which kind of brings us into it, we had talked about kids going out, making sure successful, jobs coming back, but what I'm finding is a lot of them, well, I wouldn't say a lot, I don't remember the numbers, but there's a small percentage that actually go to college and a higher percentage that end up taking remedial courses, because I don't feel that we're properly preparing our students for college, the workforce, military, or trade school because of limited programs. What is your take on that?
So I have spoken with various unions and trade organizations. And one of the consistent feedback that I get is that they're having trouble getting into the schools to talk to the students. Apparently, guidance counselors are focused on college or military. And from speaking with the different unions, they have apprenticeship programs, but they can't get into the schools to speak with kids to inform them of the different programs that they have. So, you know, you have, I think one of the things that we can do better is that, you know, when a kid becomes, you know, preparing for high school, we should, you know, have a plan to, okay, what are you interested in? What are some of the things you excel in, and help them, you know, open their eyes up to the opportunities that they have. You know, as a high school student, you may not know fully what you want to do. You may have a unique gift. I was fortunate when I went to Lackey. I had a typing teacher, Miss Murray Wade, Colonel Wade's wife. She taught typing at Lackey, and she got me interested in the IT field because I was tinkering with the typewriters in our classroom. We had IBM personal wheel writers, and there was one per student. And so when that typewriter broke, you know, that student, whoever was assigned to that seat, they couldn't do anything that day. And so she encouraged me to get into the IT field because I was tinkering with the equipment and I was able to fix some of it.
Okay. Now, myself, I didn't get into the IT field, but we have a similar story where I was fascinated by computers, and I probably could have been a computer. Well, I was a computer guy, military, but I learned how to type in high school. But back then, you couldn't use the computers unless you were gifted and talented. You had limited use on the computers unless you was gifted and talented or AP, whatever, because we didn't have that many computers. But I had there was a teacher, and he never was my teacher. I just knew him, Mr. Gallagher, who let me from time to time come in there and work on my paper and the computer. And I learned those computer skills when other students didn't have the opportunity. Because you're looking at 1989, 90, where the computer age, I don't even think internet was there, if I remember. It may have been intranet, but I don't know. But you know, that's a fascinating story, because had it not been for Mr. Gallagher, I probably wouldn't have wanted to continue to know about computers and all the things that it can do. Like right now, you know, I'm computer savvy. There's some people that are not computer savvy, can't even set up Zoom.
Yes.
So yeah, that's definitely one thing that we have in common. So the other thing I want to talk about is the well, we can't eliminate detention, expulsion, minority students, but we can definitely decrease the rates. And you know, as a board, you can advocate, but you can also create policy which is aligned with the state. What is some ways that you would advocate to eliminate the high rate of detention, as well as the expulsions of minority students? Because we know we know for the most part they're at a higher percentage, but also, audience, I want to keep in mind, if you have a school that's 80% minority, most likely it's going to be it's going to be a higher percentage minority in some cases. But you know, how do you plan on advocating for this, the elimination of the high rate of detention and expulsions of minority students?
Well, one of the things that we can do is go back to the community and, you know, talk with the parents, talk with the students, to, you know, when they come to school, they're there to learn, and we expect them to conduct themselves a certain way. But if everybody's on the same page, the student is on the same page, the parents on the same page, and the school system is on the same page, So when that student walks in the door, they know what they need to do and how they need to behave and conduct themselves, then, that will help. Now, there's going to be incidents where students are not conducting themselves in the manner that they need to in school, and then that can be addressed. But I think we need to be creative with looking at, because when we suspend that student, when we remove that student from the classroom, that student falls behind because they're missing teacher instruction, whether it's for 2 days or 7 days. They're missing instruction, and then now we have to figure out, okay, how do we catch that student back up?
Now, is there, and I'm just playing devil's advocate because I used to be a teacher. If a student, let's say, punches a teacher, is that grounds for expulsion? Or are we looking at certain offenses that are, because to some degree, the board or the superintendent, whoever, leaves it to the discretion of the principal.
Yes.
If you hit a teacher, but if that's the case, and this is when they talk about mental health counselors, if I'm a teacher, I don't want to hear about no mental health counselor if the student hit me in my face.
Correct.
Because I got to show my face back in that school eventually. And students can be very, very nasty and
Correct.
unforgiving.
Correct.
And then you be looked at as a punk, especially if you just sat there and got hit. And just like I'm coming from a different era. But how do we address the violence in school? And that's really, I'm not talking about school shootings and like that. It just the student teacher violence. How do we address that? And this is where, for me, where I feel that the board can have more of a say than the superintendent if the superintendent is not addressing it with the seriousness that it deserves.
Well, we need to, when a student hits a teacher, or when a student hits anyone, when violence is brought into the equation, we need to look at what's going on in that student's life. We're not sure what their home background is. And so if that's the case, that they're having violence at home, and then they're coming to school and acting out, then that's an opportunity for counseling to be provided for that student, to assist him while he's in school, as well as the home situation as well, because we don't know the student's background, where they're coming from. We have, like in District 2, we have students who don't have electricity. We have students who don't have running water. I know Mount Hope Elementary has a program where they have washing machines there for the community to come and wash and for the parents to come and wash their clothes as well as the students' clothes, because they have noticed that students take more pride when they're clean and they have clean clothes to wear to school. So
I didn't know that.
Opportunity. Yes, I'm from District 2, so
Yeah.
I know all about that. So that was one of the things. There's a program to assist because they have a large number of people who do not have running water.
Yeah, and you definitely bring up an interesting point because, as a teacher, I realized that students come in with their own baggage. And 99.9% of the time, if they have an issue with you, it ain't got nothing to do with you.
Right. That was one of the things I have is a free and reduced lunch for students, because if a child is hungry, they're not going to be focused. They're not going to be concentrating. They're going to be, their mind going to be wandering. So we need to make sure that when we get those students in the building, we provide them with the necessary tools so they can be successful. And being hungry is something simple that I think the school system can address.
Yeah, and I think for the most part, they've been addressing it. I'm not sure what, I know for the summer, I believe they get some free meals.
Yes.
And, to me, that's one of the programs that, I see the instant benefit in it. But it doesn't necessarily, it temporarily addresses things that they may be experiencing or not experiencing at home. So the other part of this is, and I'm trying to think of really how to frame it in such a way to where I don't confuse myself. Well, let's look at it like this, okay? When, I don't know if you remember, but some time ago, the previous superintendent took away the activity bus. And the rationale was, well, it was low ridership. And I'm thinking to myself, $220-something thousand, I believe it costs for the activity buses. With all the money, wasteful spending that we do, the parents weren't even given the option to say, hey, I'll pay $2 to offset the cost for anything. It was just eliminated. And I think that significantly hurt students in District 2, specifically Lackey, where I would say vast majority of them take the bus to school.
Yes.
So what is it that you would try to stress to the superintendent in regards to getting this student activity bus back?
Well, I think when you look at bringing something back, one of the things you need to see, okay, what worked well and what didn't work well. And I think if the communication was put out there to the parents, hey, this is what we have, this is the numbers. If maybe some parents didn't know that there was an activity bus, and they just picked their kids up. So if one of the things were low ridership, then okay, did we advertise the activity bus well? Did the parents know about it? We need to look at those things. Also, community involvement, being able to have businesses, or parents all help offset some of the costs. Well, those are the things we need to look into options to bring back the activity bus, because like you said, District 2, you have kids who live in Nanjumaway, and so they're probably on the bus 20 to 30 minutes. That's how far they live from the school. I know we had students, same way with General Smallwood. General Smallwood is about 10 minutes further. So if you have a Lackey student that's 20-30 minutes from school, General Smallwood, you're about 45 minutes from General Smallwood, a 45-minute ride. So that's something that we need to revisit, because that's important.
Okay. Yes, sorry, I'm doing technical stuff. All right. Okay. So before we wrapped up, I want everyone to see your goal for the first 180 days. So briefly, tell us why these goals are important to you.
Well, you need to have, if you're going to serve on the school board, you should have an understanding of the schools that are in your district. I'm fortunate because I have visited every school in my district. I have been to every school in my district, whether there was for sporting events, as I'm a referee, as well as different community events. I have visited the majority of the schools in my district.
And I definitely agree with it, because it's not like I don't get me wrong, it's not to say you don't care about the other schools, but because of the current format and way in which you have to vote, if you're running for within your district and you have not visited all those schools in the 180 days, I don't understand why you're serving. Which brings me to the next question, because you got to have some flexibility with your job.
Correct.
So can you briefly, before we continue the goals, what type of flexibility you have with your job?
So I have flexibility. I've been on my job now for over 20 years. So I have, PTOs, I can take time off. I currently take time off because I have been involved for a number of years with the senior mock interview program. So I've taken time off from work for that. I've taken time off for work for I was involved with Career Day at the middle school. So I took some old IT equipment in and showed the, how things have progressed. So I've done that a number of years. And I've also done mentoring. So I've taken time off for work to, to speak to students on multiple occasions throughout the years.
All right. So your next goal, quarterly town halls. Tell us about that real quick.
So one of the things I have noticed from campaigning is that a lot of parents and community, people, they really don't know all the ins and outs of the education system. And so it would, having a town hall, they can ask questions. I can go with various, departments and things with the school system. Hey, if you're having problems with, transportation, this is the department that you talk to. This is, the people that you reach out to. The best way to reach out to them is via email, and this is their email address. Instead of, you having to go do Google search or whatever, when things come up, Career Day comes up, or, colleges are having opportunities, you share that information with the parents, because, a lot of times the emails goes home to students and their parents, or I know back in the day, material was handed out to the child to give to their parent. And if the child forgot, lost the paper, whatever, the parents were unaware. So, having town hall meetings, you can address concerns, issues that you may not know of, but it also helps you be engaged with the schools and the parents and the community in which you're serving.
All right. And then your last goal, I'm just going to summarize it. What I think it means is that basically you want the school system to focus first on local businesses as well as state businesses first, versus trying to look outside.
I think it's an opportunity to circle back around to the community involvement. If there's businesses in our community that are serving and providing the same services that, maybe a business that we're ordering equipment from, that's probably in the Midwest or in the South, then I think that's an opportunity for us to do business with their local business.
Okay. So we're at that time where we're about to wrap it up, but before we wrap it up, let me dealing with technology here. Give me a second. Share screen. Okay. Just want to give everybody, this is here. There we go. So for those who want to find more about Jason's platform, maybe volunteer, participate, donate, whatever the means, his website is www.electjasonhenry.com. And before we go, and I give you the last word, I play this game. Well, the game is a word game where I say 7 words, and you pretty much tell me what comes to your mind.
Okay.
Whether it's one word or a sentence. All right, so you ready?
Yes.
All right, Charles County.
My home.
Sports.
I love basketball.
Social justice.
It's important.
Board of Commissioners.
Board of Commissioners. They are held responsible for more than what they're actually responsible for.
Okay. Fishing.
I love it. My dad has a place on the water.
All right. Lackey High School.
My alma mater.
And last but definitely not least, them boys, Dallas Cowboys.
Oh, I'm a Cowboys fan from the
Man,
'70s.
I didn't even
And
know that, man. I
yeah,
just
I,
guessed.
I, but see, because in the '90s you had Troy Aikman and all of them. But so, and I tell people, okay, I was born in '71, and at the time in the '70s, Dallas was considered America's team, and that was the team. Dallas was shown on regular television. This is before cable now, so those games were more frequent because at the time, they was considered America's team. And so I saw the star on the helmet, and you had Drew Pearson, and he did the little gun thing in the end zone when he scored a touchdown. So, hey, that's my
Yeah,
thing.
that's why I try to tell people. I was born in Texas. I didn't look at football until I moved to Germany. And the first game that I saw was Super Bowl. Dallas was playing Denver Broncos.
Okay.
And Tony Dorsett, yeah, it was Tony Dorsett. Yeah, it was Tony Dorsett. I think it was his rookie year, wasn't it?
Probably. Yeah.
But I was like, man, he's smooth. That's my team right there. That's how I picked him. It was that simple. I didn't like Denver Broncos colors. But anyways,
Okay.
so Jason, appreciate you taking time out of your busy schedule to come on here and express your views and as well as your platform as you run for Charles County Board of Education District 2. And like I tell all candidates, anything I can do to get your platform out there, regardless of the situation, just let me know, because that's really what I just did. And I do that for all candidates who take the opportunity to use it. So before I go, I'm that voter who just ran into you. Hey, why should I vote for Jason Henry for Charles County Board of Education District 2?
I will sum it up like this. If you look at my record in the community compared to the others running for District 2, I'm heavily involved in the community. So not only are my words important, but my actions are even more important.
Okay, so pretty much what he's saying is look at his record. You got the website. You tell us the website again.
www.electjasonhenry.com.
And you can check out the website, contact him, find out what he's doing in the community. If you're District 2, you pretty much should know. But if you're not, now's your opportunity to find out. So I'm gonna get ready to go. But once again, I appreciate you taking time, and good luck on the campaign trail, as I know I will see you as well as the others on that campaign trail.
Well, thank you for having me.
All right, y'all. So once again, I want to thank Jason Henry for being on the show as he runs for Charles County Board of Education District 2. And I hope you enjoyed episode 18 of season 7. I think I have a couple more episodes coming up. I'm trying to juggle with some people's schedules. So I don't want to all of a sudden announce who's going to be on next, because it really depends on their schedule. But don't forget, early voting is, don't quote me, July 7th or 9th, but it's July. And then general voting, July 19th. I'll post that information probably next show. But until then, I wish everyone peace, love, and happiness. Until we meet again, peace and blessings.
Blaze the